Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we have a build to show you. This is an 89 Sabers Qui-Gon. This has a neopixel blade, Proffieboard, and it is running OS 6. Now the special thing about this install is that it has a lot of accuracy modifications. So just to quickly go over those, the hilt's been powder coated. I actually machined a new shroud, a more accurate shroud to the hero prop. I accurized the one emitter piece and actually made one for the static look to act as a blade plug. The button here, I also made that bezel for it, and the button is a Roman props blanking cap replica, and I actually modified that as well. So there's just a quick overview, so let's go ahead and look at some details. So the first thing is I'll start up here again at the emitter. Now the original kit only came with one of these pieces, and I modified that so that it would hold a fender washer and a 7/8 inch blade. And afterwards I wasn't really happy with different options for blade plugs that would actually go inside, so I decided just to go ahead and make another one of these on my CNC, and that is what I have on there now. So it's a direct copy of this piece, but this one has the whole washer installed as well as a steel rod, like threaded rod insert, so it looks nice and accurate. And that is stainless steel washer. In some pictures the original prop almost looks like it has copper there, but it's not copper, it's just steel. That's just the way it looks in certain light. So inside of the emitter, you can see I have a sleeve inside of there, and that allows, then we're no longer using a 1-inch blade, we're using a 7/8 inch blade. And inside of there you can see you can kind of see the pixel connector deep inside. Now this sleeve is not something you should remove, because that actually helps to hold the guts inside, the electronics. And this is a deep groove hilt, so of course most of the electronics are located up here. You've got your speaker and your recharge port down here, your Proffieboard's in the middle, and then you've got your battery and your switch assembly and your pixel connector all crammed in up here. And that took a little bit of finagling, but made it work. So we'll come back then to the emitter, but essentially let me just go ahead and install this for now. So this is the one for a blade, obviously, and you just kind of carefully back it on and then thread it on until it catches. And these are not anodized pieces, so be careful with them. The threads are not, you can't go cranking on them too much, you might damage the threads there. So let's go ahead and look at some more details. So let's zoom in. Alright, so now you can see that red button looks a lot better. This mount is actually made out of Delrin. The original part was made out of rubber, but since you can't machine rubber, I just decided to make a copy out of a Delrin, and that looks a lot better than the other piece that was on there. Now this blanking cap replica, this red button, that is a Roman props. He used to make these, I don't know if he still does, but I took that, actually modified that too. And you'll notice if you look really closely, there's a little like a little nub right on the surface, and believe it or not I went out of my way to add that because that's how the original prop is. So after that I also re-anodized it, and I gave it a nicer red color. The original color, as I got it, the color didn't look very good, so we have a nicer red now. Now the shroud is a whole different story. So the original one that comes with the kit, I didn't like that because it's got a lot of inaccuracies, and especially around this kind of curved area. So originally I tried to modify that and ended up ruining the piece, so I decided it's easier just to go ahead and just make a whole new one. So that's what I did. I cut most of this out with my CNC, and then I finished the rest of it by hand, and that was actually pretty tricky to do, especially this area here. Trying to file these so they look relatively accurate, it's harder to do than you might think. But the look is really nice. That really improved the whole thing. It doesn't really look like an 89 Sabers Qui-Gon anymore. It kind of looks like something else. It's not quite a KR, it's not quite a 89 Sabers anymore. It's sort of It's unique. I mean, it is. It's the only one I've made, and I've tried to be more accurate to the original prop. So I also did a few other things. I did reprofile some areas up here. I added a little step down up here on the emitter. I didn't reprofile these grooves, but you know, I tried to do what I could do reasonably to improve it. There's also, you'll notice I have this red washer underneath the cover tech, and you might be wondering why that's there. There's an interesting screenshot of this hilt from the end of the first movie, obviously, and it almost looks like there's a red washer underneath of that cover tech. Now, I've noticed years ago that somebody did find an original blanking cap, and that came with a red washer. And if it looks to me like the prop makers might have taken that red washer right off of the blanking cap and then installed it under the cover tech. Maybe they thought it would help the wheel stop it from spinning around so much. So it really does to me look like there's some kind of red washer there, at least in the one screenshot in the film. Now, this particular prop that this is based off of, that still exists, and that's been on display over the years, and there are people who have gotten pictures of it, and there was one close-up of it that showed that it doesn't have a red washer, at least now. So maybe it never had it, maybe it had it and it got lost, but anyway, I'm just trying to make this look, to my eyes, the most faithful representation to what I see on screen, so that's why I went ahead and did that. So yeah, let's go ahead and I'll show you now. There really isn't much else to talk about. Those are the big things. So let's go ahead and show you how to install a blade. So the set screw is it's not exactly hidden, but it's not very prominent. It's not really sticking out either. It's not very prominent. So it's kind of obscured by this emitter ring once you screw it down. So in order to install the blade, obviously you got to get, you know, your blade emitter ring in. And then I like to just take this and back it out, you know, feel inside, you know, and back it out just enough so that that blade's going to clear inside of there. And then what we'll do is we'll take our blade. So I've got just a shorty demo blade here. And this uses just standard run-of-the-mill pixel connectors. So you want to push it in and kind of hold it because there's a spring pressure inside from those pogo pins in the pixel connector. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to screw this down, and you just want it snug. You don't want to make it overly tight, and I'll show you why. So just snugging it up. Again, this is not well, obviously this isn't really going to be a saber you want to do a lot of dueling with. This thing's more for display because it's just not designed for heavy dueling. It's just not what it's for, especially with the thinner 7/8 inch blade. Those don't hold up as much as a thick walled blade does. So anyway, once you get your blade in, you don't want to over tighten it, because if you do, it's going to make it hard to finish screwing this down, because what's happening is the screw is pushing on the blade and it's kind of pushing on the other side of the emitter. So what you want to do is you just want to make it a little snug so the blade doesn't go flying out on you, obviously. And then you should be able, no problem, just to screw this down all the way. All right. And nothing on this is, you're not cranking on anything. This is all, again, this is more for display. So, you know, you got to be a little gentle with it, I guess. All right, so that's how you install the blade. And you can see how nice that looks. It looks just like it should, you know, as if the emitter were the right way there. Okay, and now in order to fire it up, what you do is you're going to come down here to the pommel, assuming that the thing is off, because it has a recharge port, and with that it has a kill key inside of it, old school. So what you do is you unscrew the pommel, and then you'll notice the speaker. The speaker is a 28 millimeter. I'll zoom in for you. So you notice the speaker is a 28 millimeter, and it has this sort of rubber gasket. That it looks like one of those train speakers, the TCS WOW speakers that are pretty notorious for going bad on people. I had several of those go bad on me as well, but I always liked these gaskets, so I always kept those. And it really helps seal. This particular hilt really benefits from having that gasket on the speaker. The speaker is just a regular TCSS 28 millimeter bass speaker, by the way, nothing too fancy, but very reliable, and that's what you want. So This gasket really helps to seal off the sound inside of this pommel cap, and it really helps to amplify the sound. So that's why that's there. But anyway, let's go ahead and let me show you how to get this out. So what you want to do is you want to tap a little bit, just kind of get it to come loose, and then you'll start to see, you don't want to yank on the gasket, but you'll start to see, yeah, there we go. So you see the plastic coming out from the side of the speaker, and then you've got your chassis. So you just want to pull this out just enough so that you can access this kill key, and you're going to twist this until you hear it fire up. There we go. Now you don't want to take this and yank it out and twist it all the way around and spin it. You just want to pull it out like that and put it straight back in, because there are wires that are under here that I had to coil them in a specific way so that they go right back to where they need to be to make room for this whole piece to slide back in and seat all the way. Because there isn't a whole lot of room in here. Obviously, this is a pretty small hilt because it's a deep grooves version. Like I said earlier, this is a modified Roman's blanking cap replica. It's not a normal button switch. So what I did was I actually machined this little mount for it. And the way that it works is there's a little rubber gasket around the stem of the blanking cap, and that's what acts as like a spring, so you can activate the saber. Alright, and if you're careful, I wouldn't recommend doing this, you don't really need to do this, but I'll do it just to show you what we've got. But if you unscrew this, if you do this, be very careful, because that's just plastic, and you know, I made it by hand, so it's you could strip it out, the threads there. It's just a little tiny bit of thread to let this go down in, and then what it does is I've got the switch mounted underneath of that. See how that works? So then you just go ahead and screw that back in. Just screw it in all the way until it just starts spinning, and that's how you know you've gone past the threads. And then it's kind of seated again, and you're ready to go. So that's how that works. So let's go ahead and now, while I've got the pommel cap off, let me go ahead and show you what the insides of it look like. So all of this, the shroud and the back plate, they're all held on by this CoverTech screw. So just unscrew that. You'll see the red washer is just tacked on there by a few points of super glue, so I'm going to be a little delicate with that. Couldn't really come up with a better way to do that, so that's how that's done. And this just comes right off, and then you'll see that back plate is already starting to come off. So that is just held on. There are no other screws that hold this piece on other than that CoverTech, and that's what anchors that down. So you can take that off then, and now you can see all your electronics. And we've got our Proffieboard wired up. We just have the single switch. We've got our 18650 underneath of there, and the wires, you see I have them routed in a specific way so that when you pull this out, they want to go right back. You know, it makes it easier to take it in and put it back out, or you know what I mean, pull it out and put it back in. And like this is, now you see why you don't want to twist this, because if you do, then you might risk getting those out of whack, and then you'd have to take the shroud off like this and reset them. So better off just to not pull that out that far. Keep it in as much as you can. So yeah, it's pretty simple. Nothing crazy on the electronics, no crystals or any of that. So let's go ahead and put it back together and start wrapping this up. Okay, just snug that up a little bit. And now we are ready to go ahead and put our pommel cap on. Okay. So that's nice and snug. Okay, so there it is. So that's how it works. That's everything for you. The Proffieboard is running OS 6, so of course it's got all your latest effects and everything. Now I only have it set up to have a one button solution, so you have to learn how that works, because there's certain settings that you have to, in order to access, you have to know the right how long to hold the button down and all that. So for example, if you want to change a blade preset, what you want to do is you just want to hold down while the saber's off, hold it down for a second, and it'll click and go to the next preset. So like for example, let's go ahead and turn it on right now. So right now we just have to set it, we have it set to a nice green blade. You can hear the old smooth swing and everything. If you want to activate your soundtrack while the saber's on, then you hold the button down for a second. And then you get music. Hold it down to turn it off. And then to deactivate, you just want to hold the button down until it completely shuts off. And then again, to go to the next preset, while it's off, you're going to hold it down. And then you hear that click sound. Now it should be a different color. Yeah, there we go. Now I got blue. And of course this has all your typical Proffie stuff, so it's got smooth swing, it's got accent swings, it's got all the latest effects like the rotoscoping. Mainly the blade styles I have on here, I'm using Fernando's stuff, his FET 263. He's really the guru for the Proffieboard, and his website's pretty amazing. It's a little daunting, you have to take some time to really learn it all, but once you do, you realize it's actually pretty simple, and you can really do anything you want, so it's pretty neat. Proffieboards are really good for that. Okay, so this was a little labor of love. Put a lot of work into this. I hope you guys like it. It was fun taking a hilt and trying to improve it as much as I could. That's what I always like to do. So thanks for watching. We'll go outside now. I'll show you a few moves and you can see it in action.